Hi, welcome back. Today I'm here to once again go over two similar grocery store items so we can decide which one is the better choice for our family. And today I'm looking at tortilla wraps because I was in the store and saw these wraps that say carb balance flour tortilla wraps, and then right next to them are just regular flour tortilla wraps. So I was wondering, what is the difference between carb balance and regular? And just by looking at the front of the carb balance, I get a quick glance that it says 4 grams of net carbs, high in fiber, and 70 calories. And then I'm just like, well, what does that mean? What's high in fiber? What are net carbs? 70 calories I have, but like, what is that? How does that compare to anything else? So of course, we're gonna have to take a look at the nutrition facts. Okay, so the first thing I always look at is, of course, the serving size. And both of mine say 1 tortilla, which is good. But I wanna make sure that 1 tortilla from one bag is the same as 1 tortilla from another bag. So right next to where it says 1 tortilla, it tells me how many grams that is. So my carb balance one is 43 grams and my regular one is 49 grams. So they're pretty close. The carb balance one is slightly smaller. And that one we already know has 70 calories, and my regular tortilla has 140 calories. So it's already double the amount of calories. But let's look at why. So we're gonna run down the list. The total fat in both of them is 3 grams. And then my favorite kind of fat to look at is saturated, which 1 gram, they are exactly the same. Then I like to look at the sodium content. So in my carb balance one, I have 320 milligrams, which is 14%. And in my regular one, I have 410 milligrams, which is 18%. So both of these are pretty high in the sodium content, which is to be expected because, again, sodium tends to come in not in foods that we typically think of as being salty, but in foods that are highly processed, which both of these are. So now we're gonna get to the carbohydrates. So my carb balance has 19 grams of carbohydrates and my regular ones has 24 grams of carbohydrates. So there's already a discrepancy there. And my carb balance said that it was high in fiber, and it has 15 grams of fiber, which is about 50% of your daily recommended value. My regular one has just 1 gram of fiber, which is only 4%. So already I can see that my carb balance has a lot more fiber in it. Like a lot, like 50% more of your daily intake than the regular one. And then of course my added sugar, there's 0 added sugar in my carb balance, and there's 2 grams of added sugar in my regulars. And protein in my carb balance, it's 5 grams, and in my regular, it's 4 grams, pretty close. And then the rest of the nutrition facts are pretty much the same. My regular tortillas do have a lot more iron. They have 10% of my daily, and my carb balance has 4%. Okay, so what does it mean, net carb? If you take a look at the total carbohydrates, it says there's 19 grams. And then it says dietary fiber is 15 grams. So the net carbohydrates here are 4 grams because only 4 of these grams are contributing calorically to the food. Dietary fiber isn't absorbed by the body, so it doesn't give us any energy. So what you do is you take the total grams of carbohydrates, 19, you subtract from that the 15 grams, which is all fiber, and you end up with 4 grams. So that means that's how we got to 4 grams of net carbohydrates. Net meaning your total carbohydrates take away the ones that don't contribute to your caloric intake. But the real question here, I think, is how did they get so much fiber into these tortillas? They didn't add in anything else significant. They really only added in a ton of fiber. So what we'd have to do is go do a side-by-side comparison of the ingredients, which is too super boring to go through right now. The takeaway is that they really pumped up the carb balance with what we're gonna call modified wheat starch. They basically taken fiber and just kind of crammed it in there. That way they can advertise as having 4 grams of net carbs. It's a marketing ploy here. So what should you do? Basically, these are both made with enriched wheat flour, which is again white flour where they add back in the nutrients. So one thing you could look for are whole grain tortilla chips or tortillas, because those are going to be made. So it's really important to remember that net carbs and something being advertised as having low net carbs or being high in fiber doesn't mean that it is whole grain. We have to take a look at the back side to see what's actually inside of the food that we're buying. Made out of whole grains, which means it's going to have all that stuff, the fibers, vitamins, the minerals, still inside the wheat. And we can see here that this net carb thing is kind of a little sketchy. That being said, if it does come down to these two, the net carbs or whatever it's called, carb balance, or the ones that are regular, you can opt for the carb balance because it does contain a lot more fiber. However, it is still very high in sodium and it is highly processed. So my recommendation would be don't get either of these. Get something that's made from whole grains. And this is just another reason why it's so important not to trust the front of the labels and to always read the backs. I will be back next week going through another confusing nutrition facts label. Make sure to subscribe so you can watch all of our videos. If you have a burning nutrition facts question, let me know in the description below. I'll be sure to get to that. Thanks. I'll see you guys next week.